Welcome back to World Talks. We're going to discuss European nuclear deterrence. France, which is not a member of NATO's nuclear planning group, built its nuclear arsenal to counter the Soviet threat. Political leaders have consistently stated that France would only use its nuclear weapons if its vital interests were attacked. Now, President Macron has expressed willingness to use French arsenal to protect Europe. To discuss, we are joined by Heinz Gärtner, professor at the Department of Political Science, University of Vienna. Good morning, Professor. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
So, French President Emmanuel Macron is pushing for a discussion on using France's nuclear arsenal to protect Europe, especially as the US under Trump rethinks its NATO commitment. So will we see more European countries with nuclear weapons? How is that going to look like?
First of all, we have to say that's not only Macron who made this suggestion. It goes back to President de Gaulle, and also President Sarkozy in 2007 made a similar suggestion already. So it doesn't have that much to do with President Trump. There was always a little bit a suspicion whether the US would really take seriously the nuclear umbrella, whether they really would, just in case push comes to shove, to sacrifice San Francisco for Warsaw or Paris or whatever. So that's why always the Europeans and also the French considered an alternative option. The French had a nuclear weapons program. They forced the FAB only because of this, because they didn't trust the US. So, but to some extent, it's of course an overestimation of French nuclear capacity. So we have just to be realistic. The French number of nuclear warheads are about 300, and almost all of them are deployed. Compare this with the Russian nuclear warheads. They have almost 2,000 deployed and almost 5,000 in reserve. So the French don't have much in reserve as well. So if France would use a nuclear weapon against Russia, so it would be a recipe for suicide. So we should put this in relation to the reality.
Right, but I mean, it could still serve as a strong deterrent, right? What about the UK? What about UK's arsenal? How significant is it?
Yeah, that's different because part of the nuclear arsenal of the UK is integrated in NATO. And we have to say that the UK nuclear arsenal and the program is largely dependent on the US. So they cannot really use it independently of the US and develop it. That's different to France, which always wanted to have an independent nuclear deterrence. Of course, it has some deterrence effect. I would not deny it, surely, because, of course, a missile launch from one of the French nuclear-tipped submarines could do a lot of damage. But we have to think about the second strike capability, and if Russia, maybe Russia or somebody else would retaliate, the consequences would be catastrophic.
Right, and I mean, Poland and Denmark, right, they have signaled openness to discussing this French proposal. So do you think that it has a chance of materializing into something concrete on the ground?
Yeah, it started a debate, you're correct. So it's Denmark, Poland, it's even Germany. France several times made an offer to Germany to share some of the nuclear structure to some extent, at least technologically. The offers were very vague. So it did trigger a debate, but we have to think about the consequences if there's a common command, common European nuclear command, for example, or if the command would be shared by two countries like France and Germany or France and Poland. So that has consequences for the nuclear proliferation treaty. So this country would have to leave the nuclear proliferation treaty. And so far we have only one example when a country left this treaty, that was North Korea. So I think it's unlikely that other European states would like to go down this road.
Okay, let's go back and perhaps zoom in on the U.S. for a moment, right? Because I have a statement from Trump here already from January, and he says we want to see if we can denuclearize, and I think that's a very possible, right? And of course, then we also had a Russian response to this, saying that there are things to discuss, to talk about. But the gist of the matter is that the Russia-United States new strategic arms reduction treaty, the START, expires in 2026. However, at the moment, right, Russia suspended its participation in this START treaty. So what is the situation on the ground? I mean, can they be held accountable for anything? What is the dynamic here?
No, that was an interesting statement by President Trump. It didn't raise that much excitement as a statement by President Obama in 2008 when he spoke a world free of nuclear weapons. It was very much discussed. So far, this did not really get that much attention, what President Trump said. But it was an interesting statement, at least for the long run, because of course we have also a treaty for the prohibition of nuclear weapons. The conference of the state parties just took place in New York. But the consequence, of course, in the near future will not be the abolishment of nuclear weapons, of course, but it could mean a return to nuclear arms control and arms control negotiations. That would be a positive effect, and maybe that was a signal by President Trump to the Russians that he might be open to resume the talks and to restart the strategic reduction talks.
This is very interesting. And speaking of Donald Trump, there's news that perhaps he will pull out American troops from Germany, and we're talking about some 35,000 troops. But also, American nuclear warheads, right, are in Germany. So do you think that there could be a change to that as well? Supposedly it shouldn't, right? Because they have this binding coalition agreement from 2018. But what is your view on that, knowing how unpredictable?
No, there are some tactical American nuclear weapons deployed in Europe, not only in Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, Turkey, Italy. And they were considered to be a cushion for the nuclear umbrella, the shared nuclear doctrine. So the doctrine of nuclear sharing. And so that's the withdrawal of these weapons, of course, would be a signal that the US would not be that committed to Europe anymore. Maybe there will be a reduction, but I don't think that the US would withdraw all these troops because, of course, there is also linked to that an influence of the US on Europe. So President Trump definitely wants to show Europe that it is independent, that it is dependent of the US.
Right, but I mean, could it relocate? I mean, the way they're planning supposedly to relocate these troops is from Germany to Hungary. So I wonder if there could be some more realignment also on the nuclear front.
That's possible. That's possible, but also there would be the possibility to improve the technology. So that's why these nuclear warheads are already very old, and they did not really have not been really enhanced very much. So a redeployment might go hand in hand with an improvement and the modernization. Mm-hmm. So modernization also means being more effective. So if you have less warheads, that means that they still can be more effective.
Right. So let's take a look at Poland for now, because I mean, it has been the country has been seeking a more active role, right, in NATO's nuclear sharing mission for quite some time. It could either be hosting the B-61 nuclear weapons, or it could be certifying the F-35s to carry nuclear weapons, right? Or perhaps assuming a more significant role in decision making. I'm talking about NATO's nuclear doctrine. Do you see any of this happening in the near future, given that Poland and the US have, good relations, right? I mean, at least the rhetoric is like.
On the technological level, a lot can be done. So either in the cooperation with the US or even in the cooperation with France, there can be common exercises. And Poland, of course, is interesting because of the eastern flank of NATO. There could be some deployment of nuclear-capable fighter jets without carrying nuclear weapons, common exercises on the borders. So on the technological level, a lot is possible, but I don't think Poland will want to become to share a nuclear command structure either with the US nor with France.
What about Germany? Because, of course, once Friedrich Merz assumes office, I believe that the country can take a different course, especially, even regarding nuclear weapons, right? Merz is in favor of France's nuclear sharing, whereas Scholz was advocating for restraint in a way, right? So do you see this change happening in Germany, and could this precipitate other changes in the EU?
Of course, yeah, there's a little bit in change in rhetoric. As I said before, there have been similar offers by French presidents before, even to share the nuclear command. But more or less, it was played down by Germany. This time, Chancellor Merz, future Chancellor Merz will already paid more attention to it, and he said we have to take the debate seriously. So of course it could trigger a debate on Europe's role in nuclear deterrence. But I think it is considered more to deter Russia now already. So they will signal to Russia we could do it. And Russia, of course, reacted already, criticizing it very much. But Germany has the capability of the threshold state, like Japan. So Germany technologically could become itself a nuclear weapon state if it wanted. However, it has serious consequences of the non-proliferation system. And Germany so far was one of the staunchest defender of the non-proliferation treaty, and also it was one of the first, and also the Americans already in the 50s put pressure on Germany not to develop nuclear weapons. And I don't think that the change in Germany would go that far to become a nuclear weapon state or share a common nuclear command with France.
Professor Heinz Gärtner, thank you so much for being with us this morning and for your insights. Much appreciated.
You're welcome.
And thank you for watching World Talks. Please stay tuned for more here on TVP World.